Hello guys and welcome to Better Than Yesterday, a podcast brought to you by MTN Coaching. In today's episode we have got Nicole, Rosie and Alex here from the team, and we're going to be diving in and discussing all things muscle building. Now there is 5 key points that we want to chat about, and it's the five key things that everyone who has the goal of muscle building needs to be aware of. We're going to kick things off chatting about calorie intake. How much of a surplus do you need to be in? Do you even need to be in a surplus? And can you build muscle whilst in a calorie deficit as well? So we're going to kick things off with Alex and just get a little bit of his thoughts and feelings surrounding calorie intake. So let's start with complete beginner, someone that's never tried to build muscle before. What is your sort of plan of action for those people, Alex?
All based on a starting point for me. So getting those initial progress photos, having a look at what is their body fat percentage at the moment. If someone's coming to me and saying, I want to gain loads of muscle, Alex, what do I do next? And they've already got a decent bit of body fat on them at the moment, I'll take them through what I would call like a priming phase. So I'll say, let's for 8 to 12 weeks be in a calorie deficit first, strip you back to the bare bones, not the bare bones, but strip you back to a lower body fat percentage. And then that allows me to take someone through a gaining phase for much longer and reduce that risk of putting them through a gaining phase that's going to gain loads of fat.
So would you prefer to have them leaner before you start?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
In all cases?
Most of the time, in all cases, yes. I've always done this, and I think it's something that I've had really good success doing lately. First of all, it puts someone in a much more responsive place to go into a gaining phase. And second of all, it allows you to look at a physique as well and go, where do I actually want to put most volume through in a training program? If I strip someone back and I go, actually, I thought that guy had really solid legs, and actually he's holding more fat in that area, and actually I would want to put more volume through those legs in the training program as well.
Nice. Would you guys be the same, Nicole?
I think it's dependent on, obviously we are a physique based company, but if for me, when it comes to gaining muscle, any shape or size can do that. Mm-hmm. But if your goal is to look a certain way, then obviously you want to start on a slightly leaner point again, just to see what the actual under the hood looks like, and go from there.
Go from there, Rosie.
I think mentally it's nicer to start building from a point of being a little bit happier with your physique. So if someone's got a little bit to lose and then they go straight into a building muscle phase, like we all know, the wins in a growth phase are a little bit slower. Yeah. So if you've stripped them back, like Alex said, you've seen their physique for what it is, they've seen their physique for what it is, and they also now know that they can get lean, because it's hard to go into a growth phase and really push it if you're not sure on your ability to then get it back off at the other end of it. So I think mentally it's also good, for both of those reasons as well.
Yeah, I think this is why I like maintenance calories for almost everyone that tells me they want to build muscle, at least for a short-term period. I think most people don't need a big surplus when they're looking to build muscle, and I think a lot of the science and data has changed on this. A lot of people thought you had to do this big bulk and you had to be in this massive surplus of calories, but unless you're crazy experienced and you've been training for a long time, you likely don't need a big surplus. Most people will benefit from being at maintenance, and I think if anything, even if your weight's not dropping dramatically, if you're training much harder and you're sitting at maintenance, you will be able to, in a lot of cases, drop a little bit of body fat whilst building muscle, which for most people is the goal. So I would probably lean more towards just sticking at a maintenance phase. And again, it's different coach to coach, and this is why it's so good having 4 of us here today, because we've maybe got slightly different perspectives. I would typically lean towards actually, let's just sit at maintenance. If you drop some body fat, happy days, but I do still want to keep you in that sort of mindset of just building muscle. Again, depends on starting point massively.
I think a lot of the time it's buy-in for me as well. As a coach as well, I think people like to see some visual changes in the first 8 weeks, for instance. A lot of the time that is getting a little bit leaner. Yeah. I think because it's all a new stimulus for someone as well. So if you do have, and again, I'm talking more beginner here, but if you do have a beginner coming to you and they're saying, listen, I want to gain muscle, I think they're going to gain muscle in the dieting phase anyway, because the programming I'm going to give them and the food knowledge, nutrition knowledge that I'm going to give them is all a new stimulus to their body anyway. So I find that I can have someone in a deficit. They also get stronger in that deficit as well, because they've started that new training program and they see some really good before and after results as well. And that from a buy-in perspective as a coach as well, if I'm thinking purely selfishly for 2 seconds, that person's probably going to be quite happy with the result that they've got with me after that first 12 weeks, and then likely want to continue into a gaining phase after as well. So it's a win-win for both parties, basically.
Yeah, love that. Thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's probably how I would do it. And I don't know if it's just because coming from, I only really coach females. I know that you want to be in that position first before you are putting anything on, because you need to be really confident that what you're putting on is intentional. You're doing it in the phase rather than like you've come to me and you're just semi-happy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think for us it sounds crazy, but like for us sometimes it's selling that to the client as well. Like a client might come to you with a muscle building goal in mind, and it's like, okay, cool, you do want to build muscle, but we think you would benefit from a short-term fat loss phase, or at very least sitting at maintenance. Because I think a lot of people come on board and they're like, right, I'm building muscle, like give me all the calories, and it's like, you probably don't need that. Like we'll typically start that little bit lower, whether it's in a deficit to get leaner or certainly at maintenance for the vast majority, and then be like, right, you've got a little bit of fat off, we think you're training pretty hard. I probably wouldn't increase calories until I see progress stopping, if I'm being completely honest. Like if I've got a client and they're getting stronger and I visibly see their numbers going up in the gym or their volume getting better, I would probably like gravitate towards not increasing their calories, which I think is not what a lot of people think. I think people think muscle building equals tons and tons of calories.
Yep.
Honestly, like your surplus needs to be like 200 to 300 more than your maintenance. Looking at maintenance, Rosie, how would you figure that out for someone before?
Give them the old 14 dare.
Yeah.
Give them something that they're going to stick to for 14 days and just go off bodily response.
Yeah.
Of course, that does require adherence, and that's what I was about to say there. I feel like most people, like us included, you need to you need to do well with some sort of restriction. So if someone comes on and they straight away want to build muscle, it's not a green flag to eat everything in sight. You need to be able to adhere to that maintenance, so you know that you're going to stay within like what we've set. So that's what I would do.
I was just going to circle back to what you said about kind of why you prefer to be in maintenance kind of calories to begin with, and I'm the same. And I think as well, because when it's a fat loss phase, I think our adherence is, well, I think for most of us or coaches, like 100%, like 90 to 100%, like we're on a fat loss phase. And I'll obviously go by example when I'm kind of saying that to clients, like to be like 90 to 100%. But when it comes to building muscle and being around maintenance, I think your adherence obviously should always still be aiming for 90 to 100%.
You're going to have more flexibility.
But you're going to have more flexibility anyway. So like the increase in calories doesn't necessarily need to be that, because you're naturally going to.
So even if you're sitting at maintenance, you're probably eating a little bit more anyway.
Probably eating a little bit
that's
more
such a good
anyway.
point, actually.
So like
you're a different case because you've obviously came from losing a lot of weight. So this is an interesting question. At your heaviest, what did you do calorie-wise to lose the weight? And then when you got there, how did you sort of change your mindset towards, right, at some point I'm going to need to kind of eat more?
So my beginnings is quite annoying. I wish I had more structure at the start of my phase, because that was the first day of lockdown. Like the photo that everyone knows of my before is first day of lockdown. Like literally like the day one of lockdown. And I had no intention in sticking to anything or even losing weight. I genuinely was just like having a laugh. Like I honestly had no goal or plan, which is obviously red flag. But I was doing a lockdown alone, so I had literally nothing else to do other than go for walks or do some workouts on Instagram Live. Like that's all I had to do. So I had no experience. I wasn't a coach then. I had no knowledge of what even a calorie was. Like I genuinely think, looking back, I didn't even know what a calorie was.
Yeah.
And I was baking tray bakes of brownies and banana bread and eating them all myself. I'd make like portions 6 of bolognese and have it done in like 2 nights, like all throughout my fat loss phase. But I was just moving a lot more, which I'd never done. And it wasn't until like I started to lose weight that I was like, oh shit, like I look good, like something's going on here. And then I just started educating myself and more. So much so that I did no uni work, because I was a uni student at the time, dropped out of uni because all I wanted to do was consume and learn about fitness and everything like that. But it was when I went too far, because again I was uneducated. So like I was really underweight, lost my period. Everything was just a shit, and we'll just swear.
You can swear,
yeah. So like, should I pause for a second?
No, you're not good.
So we and then it's when I was like, oh crap, like okay, things aren't doing good here. I'm still working out my room, so like I was kind of ready to kind of level up. And when my period stopped, I said, right, okay, so now I know about calories, and I was always trying to stick to. I was never trying to low. I stuck to 1,900 calories. Even at me at my absolute leanness, I was at like 1,900, 2,000. I was just exercising a lot. So much.
Right, okay.
Like I was doing like 25,000 steps a day, doing like 2 HIIT workouts a day. Like I was just like obsessed
all the
with
good
it.
stuff.
Yeah, all the good stuff. awful. And then it was then that when my period stopped, I just went straight to 2,500.
Locked in a bit too hard there.
Locked in a bit too hard
Yeah.
there. And then I kind of met Jack and stuff. So like again, I never until I want to say 2022, which was 2 years after my journey, that I had a plan, stuck to calories.
Yeah.
And that's when I started building muscle. That's when I actually started to see the proper changes.
So it wasn't until you actually followed like a structured plan that you were like, right, I can actually see some
everything
muscle
else, fluke.
Yeah.
Like, which is mad.
It worked well for
It
a
worked.
fluke.
We've always kind of said this though, like, see if you're like fluking hard enough.
Yeah.
Like, we've always kind of
exactly
said that.
that.
Like, if you're
Clap that.
if you're working hard enough,
Even doing the
You're
wrong
gonna
thing.
see
even
a
doing the
result.
wrong
Yeah, you're
things,
gonna
like
see
if you just work crazy hard,
Yeah.
like we've always had this conversation, like
Yeah, you
guys,
see it.
guys
in the
that you
gym.
see in the gym that form's terrible, pick random workouts, pick random exercises, just eat random stuff, but they're working the hardest in the gym.
Yeah,
Like
so they
they're
look
the
better.
hardest workers that you're looking at.
Yeah.
So they're just increasing the surface area of getting a good result because of the hard work that they're putting in.
Yeah.
And you can almost get to the stage where you can get so scientific and so worried about fatigue and so worried about, oh, that's not optimal.
That you don't
where
train any intensity.
You don't train any intensity. You do everything to a 70% level and just sit where you are for the next year because
Yeah.
you're almost like, no, I can't train too hard because then I'll get fatigue. It's like, well, that guy over there just trains
I didn't know
trains
that.
like fuck and goes home and just eats loads of protein and he seems to be doing quite fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a big bit of it was as well like this is where like the real me will come out, the ego. But like I feel like
Don't worry, it's come out already.
no, but you know like how like they say like how Mozart could just play all
Yeah.
that right.
Oh, you know what?
could just train.
You're not about to compare
I'm
yourself
not
to
about to say
Mozart.
that. No. What I'm saying is like I think I didn't have any bad habits. Like I didn't learn. Like I was
didn't learn the wrong
opposite to
stuff.
Laura. I didn't learn the wrong
Yeah.
stuff.
Laura had to unlearn.
I actually had to unlearn. Whereas
Laura
I
catching
feel
strays
like,
right now. Not even here.
but I just feel like I just kind of a lot of it made sense to me.
Yeah.
Like and it, like
So you stumbled upon doing it the right way to an
yeah,
extent.
exactly that. I fluked into doing it the right way.
And you were the opposite to an extent, Rosie, not necessarily with a fat loss phase, but when you first tried to build muscle, you didn't have the experience that you wanted. Chat a little bit about that.
I was very much like, kind of like the guy that Alex just described. I was like, if I just eat and I just train, I'm going to get massive.
Yeah.
And I did get massive. Well,
Yeah.
I never got massive, but I had a lot more body fat than
Yeah.
was comfortable for me or that looked good on my frame.
Yeah.
But like, it wasn't for a lack of education. Like my undergrad was in sport and exercise. I coached from quite a young age. I did like athletics when I was younger, but I was so naturally thin that I almost thought like, well, I'm not going to get that way because like I had struggled with that. And like when I was training as I was younger, like I was always like the thinnest person. I always had like abs. Like I was always tiny. So like at that time, it maybe did get to a point of like being a little bit too far.
Yeah.
But I actually think that is what I needed at the time because I did struggle to put on. So like I did need a big surplus and like I probably maybe would have got more optimal results or I would have had to do less of a fat loss phase after if I was just over maintenance.
Yeah.
But at that time, like a good 500 calorie surplus, maybe even more.
Yeah.
It maybe did what I needed, but looking back, it probably wasn't the best way to do it. But again, it was the first time coaching myself. It was the first time putting myself through those phases, and I did get pretty strong. So there was like
Yeah, there was benefits
yeah,
as well.
yeah. And then also like say I had like not gotten to that stage, then the fat loss afterwards wouldn't have had to have been so locked in. And I think I learned a lot from that as well.
Yeah. Looking at our average client, I would say our average client, on the most part, well, it's 75% female, 25% guys. Most of those females want to both build muscle and lose fat, like simultaneously. Like almost everyone that comes to us wants that as a goal. Alex, is that doable? And if it is doable, again, what would you do with calories? Would it be strip them back, get them lean and then build from there? Or like, what's your thoughts?
You need to have came from a position where you were eating quite a bit before you do a gaining phase.
Yeah.
So it's all based on what you were doing before. So what is your maintenance calories right now? Like if someone was coming from, you know, I was eating 1,200 calories and I'm still overweight.
Yeah.
And then they went to a gaining phase. You're not in a position to be able to drop body fat in a gaining phase doing that. If you had done something like maybe what we were kind of speaking about there, like reverse dieting someone back out of a dieting phase, for instance, and you've been slowly building those calories back up again, I think with an increase in training intensity and making sure that you're still moving, there's every chance that you could still drop a little bit of body fat as those calories start to come up.
Yeah.
It just needs to be monitored each week.
Yeah, there's typically like there's a group of people that can both build muscle and lose fat at the same time, and we probably don't fall into that category. And the reason being is because we've been training for a decent level of time and we've ran through multiple phases, higher and lower. But there is a group of people that can always build muscle and lose fat. Number one, it's complete newbies. Like anyone that's brand new to the gym can build muscle and lose fat. So if you've never lifted weights before, you will 100% be able to recomp your physique by doing that. Number two is somebody that's taken time away from training hard, which to be honest, like I probably fall into this category right now. I've not trained that hard for 6 years, 9 weeks since my son was born. And I think if I really dialed in on like progressive overload, nailing my protein, nailing a maintenance amount of calories, I'd probably be able to build back a little bit of lost muscle. And the third category of people is those taking performance enhancing drugs. Like that's typically the three main types of people. You could maybe say also you just get genetic freaks that can always build muscle, lose fat. But if you don't fall into that category, maybe you're listening to this, maybe you're a client of ours, maybe you've been training for a decent level of time, we do find you're better off trying to do things in phases, whether that's sticking to a deficit for a certain amount of time, sticking to a maintenance for a certain amount of time, which might allow you to do a little bit of both, or being in a surplus, which we'll maybe dive into a little bit right now. Now, if we are speaking to clients right now that are maybe like us three when we started, super skinny, wanting to build muscle, or maybe they've just been trying to build muscle for a while and they're not getting anywhere, let's stay on the topic of calories for another minute or so, but like what would you suggest calorie intake wise? How much more do they need? Is it loads more? Like what does that look like?
As we kind of said, if they were moving into a growth phase, depending on what they've done before, I would start them at maintenance and then I'd probably go up, if we're talking calories, maybe like 200 calorie increments, but it would be based on, it wouldn't be based on the scale as such. It would be more based on like how they're looking and how their training performance is. So just because your scale's not gone up doesn't mean you can fling on 200 calories. I would probably be more looking at,
are you progressing in the gym?
Are you progressing in the gym? How are you looking visually?
Yeah.
Because, for example, one of my clients right now, she's like, oh, you're going to put my food up, aren't you? Because my scale's not going up. And I was like, no, but like, look at these pictures.
And if you were working with a client and they were seeing good visual changes, were making improvements in the gym, would you at any point need to or want to put their calories up?
If I thought the rate of muscle that they were building was fine, what they wanted, what I wanted, again, depending on what their training background was, probably not. But like if they're at that sweet spot, like there will come a time that they're like it'll come to them eventually. Depends on their appetite as well.
Yeah,
like,
and if you're again, we'll go to Alex in this. If you're working with someone and they aren't seeing progress, how many weeks of data, how much are you looking at before you make any changes? Is it a week? Is it a few days? Is it 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
I go normally week by week towards the end of a fat loss phase, but I think in a gaining phase you're going like every 2 or 3. Like,
so you'd be looking at progress on photos, performance, energy, mood, and then making a bit of a judgment on that.
Yeah, I think especially with training, like if you were to look at someone's training program and look at their data and go, oh, that person's not increased their weights this week. And I'm like, okay, well, it's only been a week.
Yeah,
like
things can happen.
Like
week to week
things
as well.
can happen week to week. You can have shit sleeps. You can, have sons. Not that I'm there yet, but we are human beings. At the end of the day, I say that to clients quite a lot, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't really manage to increase my weights on that session." And I was like, "That's probably going to be every third session you'll feel that you're not able to increase your weights." We've all got lives. We're all human beings. We have differing energy levels. We all, maybe get stuck in traffic on the way to the gym now. We're in a rush. Like these things happen. So I think looking at someone's numbers, looking at someone's data on a 3 weekly basis is more than perfect for a gaining phase.
Love that. And to recap on all things calories, we're going to move on and chat a little bit about protein in a second. For most people, if you're looking to build more muscle, maintenance is where you should start. Regardless of your body comp, I think that's a great place to start. Now, if you're unhappy with how much body fat you currently have and you think it's excessive, then cool, maybe a small deficit for 4, 6, 8 weeks, lose a little bit before you start adding a little bit. So again, most people should be starting at maintenance. If you are or had been at maintenance and you're looking to really move into a surplus, probably 200 to 300 calories extra. And you should really only be looking to increase your calories as and when there's no improvements. If you're improving, keep everything the same. The goal is not to just eat as much as possible and gain as much weight. The goal should be to gain as much muscle. And you monitor that by progress photos, training performance, mood, feeling, how you feel in the mirror as well.
Yeah.
Let's move on, chat about protein intake, because a lot of people think when you're trying to build muscle, it's just, again, it's as many calories as possible and it's as much protein as possible. Nicole, what's your experience with regards to protein? Do you need that much more from when you're in a deficit? Is it the same amount, more or less? What does it look like?
As such as something I've been doing quite a lot recently is like really deep diving into, because again, we know that we can now track calories and protein as like the general rule.
Yeah.
But recently I've had quite a lot of girls go over their protein by quite a lot, a good 40, 50 grams. And they're asking is that okay? Like, is that fine? And like, obviously it is, I'll always go, how do you feel? How's your digestion? How's your hunger? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But for me, gaining or losing, protein's around the same, within 10%, pretty much, of what it should always be based on your body weight.
Yeah.
And anything that the clients that do go over, I'll say if you're going over but you're sticking to your calories, it's coming from another macro that could be affecting your training or your digestion or whatever.
And for protein, I actually listened to something this week and it's really simple, but I like it so much more than anything I've ever heard for figuring out your protein intake. And it wasn't a calculation. Most of the calculations that I use are like 1 gram per pound of body weight, things like that. And it was actually just your protein intake should be what your goal weight is in grams of protein. And I actually just really liked that. I thought it was a much easier way to figure things out.
Because that takes into account someone's
fat loss
lean
or
mass.
Yeah.
Takes into account someone's lean mass.
It's a nicer way to think of things. So if you're listening to this and you're like, how much protein should be eaten? There's calculations. You can also just ask ChatGPT or ask any one of us. Super simple. Look at what you want to be. Like what weight do you want to be? Give or take 5 to 10 grams, and that's your goal. Like I weigh 185, I think, pounds. And that's pretty much my target weight. Like I'm happy about here. Therefore, that's the protein kind of content that I consume. One thing that I do think with protein intake is I'm always happy if clients are 20, 30 grams over, because most people don't consume good quality protein sources for every gram of protein that they consume. So I actually have zero issue if somebody's even 50 grams, maybe pushing it. It's like maybe a bit excessive, but I even know with my target, which is 180, about 140 comes from like good quality protein sources, and the other 40 comes from yogurt pouches, the odd protein bar, and things like that aren't quite as good as chicken breast, lean steak, mince, salmon, fish, whatever else. So if you are someone that consistently goes over your protein, I honestly don't think it's anything to worry about. If anything, when you're in a surplus, I also encourage it to a degree. You're not going to notice any big issues unless it's digestion, skin, things like that can maybe have issues depending on you as an individual, but I've got no issue with going over protein. And you kind of find anyway, if people eat more calories, they naturally gravitate towards like their protein just increases, not through eating more meat, but like potatoes have a little bit of protein in them, bagels have a little bit of protein in them, wraps a little bit of protein. So you sort of get added protein from eating more calories anyway. Thoughts on that, Rosie?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think carbs are quite underrated for building muscle. Like I think folk are very protein, calories. I think healthy fats are having their moment now.
Yeah.
But I think carbs are really underrated, especially like around training. So I would say like you can be over your protein, but like Nicole said, like not at the cost of
taking calories from elsewhere.
another macronutrient. So
Like
as long as your carbs are sufficient, your healthy fats are sufficient, then yeah, you could be a little bit over, but like you probably shouldn't have like absolutely next to no carbs and your fats are through the roof, your protein's through the roof.
Yeah.
I'd say almost until the end as well, any calories I add on, I tell them this isn't an extra yogurt at the end of the day. This is to surround your training.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that.
Either pre or post.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
You're both very like in tune with, maybe you're as well, Nicole. I know Rosie and Alex are really in tune with like post, pre, sometimes even intra workout nutrition. I'm not. Like I'm just, it's not the stage I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Why do you time that? What do you do? What's your thoughts around kind of post, pre, and intra workout nutrition for building muscle?
Me personally, probably not as much as you'd think.
Okay.
Reason being that once your calories do get to a certain stage,
you're gonna.
you're just always fueled.
Yeah.
So it's one of
Like
those ones. My biggest problem at the moment actually is making sure that I don't eat too close to my session, because I'll have a meal in there that's meant to be in the afternoon, and it's funnily enough, guys, it's chicken and rice. So I have that in the afternoon, but I need to really watch that I don't bump that meal back. Because if I was to have a busy morning, for instance, and then meal 2 gets bumped back to midday, and then that means that meal 3 is bumped back to maybe like 4, and then I'm meant to be training at 5, I just physically can't have a good session because
Yeah.
it doesn't. And again, that's why it is like chicken and rice. And I'm like, okay, it's not the most enjoyable, but at least it's digested, rapid, and it's out of my system, and I can go and train.
Like that.
So being, nutrition around about my sessions is never an issue for me. It's more just making sure like,
Get enough
do I
calories
have
overall.
enough calories in overall, and can I have it as far away from training so that I'm not so full that it's going to impact my session almost.
See, I'm a wee bit opposite to that. Not opposite to that at all, but I like to be full training.
Do you?
I like to like even placebo myself that I should lift it. I've got enough fuel.
There's
Like,
nothing worse.
I honestly, if I have any twinge of hunger when I'm training,
Really?
I'm out the door.
I like training hungry. I feel like I
No.
train harder sometimes.
See,
even
I'm
when I'm trying to build muscle, I'm like, I don't mind training hungry.
I'm maybe right like in the middle there.
Total sweet spot. Yeah.
Yeah, sweet spot. So like I would definitely agree that if I'm in a fat loss phase or if anyone's in the fat loss phase, like the majority of your carbs do need to be pre and post training. Like if calories are being cut them from the meals that aren't centered around your training. But it also depends what you're going to be having pre-workout.
Yeah.
So I would always do like protein, carbs, tiny bit of healthy fats pre-training so that it's quickly digested, but you've got the fats to digest a little bit slower so you don't end up like Nicole. And then afterwards, like probably not fats and just protein, carbs so it's in quickly.
Yeah.
And around...
What about protein shakes, supplements? Is it needed when muscle building, not needed? Thoughts?
It's a supplement. It's there if it's needed.
It's there if you need it, basically.
Yeah.
I think most people could do having one a day.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I think I'm like it's just the easiest protein you'll ever have, and it's also
Every amino acid.
speaking about protein like quality and bioavailability. Really good.
Yeah.
I think the vast majority of the population could do with having a scoop of protein a day.
Yeah.
I think that would solve. I'm not going to say it's going to solve a lot of issues in the world, but it's going to solve a lot of their problems.
Here's a code, by the way, guys.
Because for some people, like that would genuinely double the protein intake for the day.
Totally.
Like, people go about all day just having like toast in the morning, soup at lunchtime, and then they have like a chicken breast at night. So they're only sitting at 40 for the day by the time they get to the end of the day.
Yeah, especially
It's wild.
especially 2 hours post workout. If you were to have a protein shake, like you would be very slightly, but like optimizing that.
Yeah, 100%.
For
I honestly think, and then I'm really going to sell protein shakes here because I honestly think a lot of people are like, you like if you need them, but I'm like, no, I think like with Alex, I think most people should take them. I also like my cheat code for eating what I eat, and if you've seen my Instagram stories, is what looks like a lot of shite. I'll eat to 1,000, 1,200 calorie meals, and then I'll just have 2 scoops of whey protein. Like that is my diet. Like I'll have 2 big meals that everyone's like, how can you eat that and stay relatively lean? Maybe not right now. The trick is I have 2 big meals and I have 2 scoops of whey protein.
Yeah.
And it's just like whether I'm building muscle or not, like that's always worked really well for me. And again, I also like the taste of like powdered protein. Some people hate it.
Yeah.
I do as well.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
see,
Milky.
I don't. I
You don't like
hate
it?
anything with the
You
label
can put it in
protein.
fridge, you'd
So
like
I'd
it.
Protein on it.
scoop it dry.
No, I don't.
No, you don't.
No, don't.
Oh my
Listen, I
God.
could.
I wouldn't put it past you, bro.
No, it's like,
Well, that's a video we'll do.
We have
You
actually
just
had
dry
like
scooping.
we have had like story replies before, like because I'll sometimes like you put 2 scoops in the one shaker and people are like, oh my God, did you not shake yourself after that? And I'm like,
If your body's
if
used
your
to it,
body's
yeah,
used to it, it's used to
Yeah.
it. Also, if you're
There's
really
adjustment
concerned about
periods.
that, I find that an isolate digests way better. So there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So we don't have a
but
bougie
if most
option.
people replace their whatever snack they have in a day with a shake,
Yeah. Well, it's the same with
you're
protein.
ordering a better.
It's the same with protein bars. Like I mean, seen this Joe Wicks, like what was the killer protein bar or something
Oh,
like.
yeah.
I've not really got a big issue with protein bars. They're not a great source of protein. And to be honest, most of them do not taste great.
They're not
The
nice.
PhD ones I really like, but most of them aren't great. And I think for most people, having a shake and an actual chocolate bar, cool, it might be 50, 60 calories more, but probably going to enjoy it more. And it's definitely better quality protein as well.
I think protein bars are just like fake away sweets for me. That's why I don't like them. Like I dig into something expecting it to be something, and then it's not.
So like someone that makes a fake away Chinese and they're like, this is amazing. I'm like, it's not got a patch
not-
on a real Chinese.
There's no way
Chinese is the best
MSG in
food
that
ever.
at all. That's why it doesn't taste good. But
perfect.
yeah, like it's an expectation thing. Like I bite into a protein bar expecting it to be
Good.
a sweet, and it ain't. And I'm
See,
like, okay, why did I
again,
keep doing this to myself?
My diet is so dry and like, but I love it.
Yeah.
Like plain, so like protein bars are, I love
Do you love them?
I love them.
Do you?
I love, I like
nah.
the chalk. Like I love it.
I hate
Like,
them, man.
honestly,
That's
like,
the fat kid inside.
6 protein
as a
bars a
Jack
day.
will sometimes be like, he'll just like the old you comes out sometimes. I'm like,
I worked with a guy once and he's like, yeah, I'm doing keto. And I was like, oh, amazing. I was like, what does your diet look like? And he was telling me, he's like, I'm not gonna name him actually, you know who it is. He's like, well, I'll have 6 protein bars a day, and the guy was jacked, right? And I was like, 6 protein bars, right? And your keto protein bar in general is 20 grams of carbs. I was like,
So you're not keto
one, you're
anymore?
not keto, and 2, how is your stomach still
Aye,
like
I can-
function in
I can
order?
do that.
Crazy.
1 or 2 protein bars, I do not feel good after it.
No.
Nah.
Right, let's move on. We've discussed a little bit about calorie intake, a little bit about protein, hopefully giving you a bit of an insight into what you need to do with regards to them. As we said, when it comes to protein, honestly, like what your goal is for fat loss will likely be the same for building muscle. You might find you naturally consume a little bit more anyway. Let's move on to training now. When it comes to training, we could talk about this endless, so we'll try and split it into categories. Let's just kick things off with the vast majority of people. How many days per week should they be training? Going to call
3 to 4.
3 to 4 for most people. An agreement.
Agreement, like the complete agreement. I think
Yeah.
3 to 4 is perfect.
Yeah.
3 if you've not got as much time, 4 if you've got all the time, and then if honestly, 5 times a week for most people, not needed.
For
In my,
muscle
in
building,
my
yeah, I
opinion,
totally agree.
in my opinion, like not needed.
I think,
Needed for someone who doesn't train hard, maybe,
Yeah.
and that splits things up across the week a little bit more,
Or that loves it.
or that just loves it. Yeah, possibly.
Some people like, I fit into both categories. I like training and I don't train that hard, so I train 5 or 6 days a week and I
It's
can
all
get away with it.
it's all just down to the programming for me. Like depends on how you're programming it. I think.
Yeah, let's look at each day. Then we'll go 3, 4, 5. Rosie, if you've got someone 3 days a week, their main goal is build muscle. We've already spoke a lot about the calories, so just imagine that they're at maintenance or a small surplus. What is your go-to split?
that's what I was about to say. I think it really depends how much volume you're putting through each muscle group.
Yeah.
So if it was 3 times, firstly, it would depend when they're going to be resting. So if they could guarantee to me they could do like train, rest, I would go full body.
Yeah.
So that they're hitting everything 3 times a week.
Yeah.
But if they're maybe, which most people are going to like train like Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
Yeah.
or like something like that, then I'd maybe get a bit more specific on what they truly wanted. So like for a female, it would usually be like lower, upper, lower.
Love it. Yeah. I like that a lot. For me, like full body, I think became really popular recently. It certainly wasn't. In fact, it was way back in the day, and then it was very bro split, just an arm session, just legs, whatever else. But I think full body's kind of, it's in its prime right now. It's coming back, but it allows you to just split volume, allows you to train things more regularly. So I think it's really good for that.
I've been enjoying kind of like dressing it up a little bit. So that I'd say more than half of my girls are 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And then there's probably the rest are 4. But the ones that are 3, obviously full body's best. I like to kind of dress it up into something that doesn't seem like they're doing the same thing 3
Yeah.
times
Yeah.
a week. So like
Tell them what's in
anterior, posterior, like and
Yeah.
have it a bit more.
Call it different things.
Call it different things.
Cole's body blast.
I think my struggle with full body is I struggle to give it to clients because I know that I don't like it.
You train more
Which is
guys though,
terrible.
and selling a full body session at a guy is way harder.
That's very true.
I think.
That's very true.
Because they're like, I just want to train arms, bro.
I also think the level of intensity that I would like someone to be training at,
Yeah, it's so
I
true.
find that does sometimes drop with full body, because if you're asking someone to go from an upper body movement to a lower body movement, I just feel like once you're kind of in the mind frame to be training legs, to come away from it and then maybe go back to it, it's quite tough sometimes. So
Yeah.
the intensity does drop a little bit, or at very least the session's just going to take a lot longer because you're constantly kind of warming back up for legs, and then
Yeah.
I think it comes with problems for me programming full body. In an optimal world, yes, it works perfectly from a volume perspective, but it's like putting it in practice is hard, I think.
I was going to say that, like the science says full body's the best.
It does, yeah.
Client feedback says I prefer individual muscle group splits. Like I love, in fact, the growth project. I'm going to plug it. No, I'm not. Is full body, upper, lower. Like that's
Yeah.
the main 3 sessions, and then they pick another session. I love that because it's
Yeah.
like you've got a full body, so it's like you're going to get a lot of volume in there. You're then hitting upper, so you're hitting upper at least twice per week. You're doing the same with lower at least twice per week, and then you can choose what you want
So
to do.
if we're looking at physique, it depends on the goal.
It-
Like,
it-
so
true, true.
if you're doing if you're trying to grow your glutes, then
Train glutes more. Yeah.
train glutes more.
And that sounds really simple advice, guys, but like most people don't look at training like that, and they should. Like I have said for years, like I've got really bad shoulders and really bad calves. What did all my training look like in the past? Chest, back, quads. It's like, okay, that's the muscles I'm probably the happiest with, right? That makes a lot of sense. But that's how you need to think. Like if you've got specific muscle groups that you're not happy with, i.e. me, calves, shoulders, it's like probably train them a bit more. And even in the last 18 months, I trained my shoulders a little bit more, and I'm like, right, actually they did grow. It's not genetics. I just wasn't training them long enough or hard enough. So yeah, I think the split, full body, really good. Full body, upper, lower for 3 days, really good. The main thing I think we're hitting home on there is you want to hit at least everything twice a week. So that should be the main goal from a training perspective. Moving into 4 days per week, Alex, let's go with guys first. Like, you got a guy doing 4 a week, what are you getting him to do?
On the most part, first off, upper lower.
Nice.
Now that can be split between body parts. So like one of your upper days could be a chest and back, one of your upper days could be a shoulders and arms, and then normally 2 leg days which are split more anterior and more posterior.
Mm-hmm.
Once I've kind of got someone to that initial stage and I know that they're doing everything well, then that's when I'll start to like specify things a little bit more. So I've always loved like a push pull legs arms. I've loved that purely down to the fact that one, guys love training arms. They love having that on a Friday. I think it's like it's a surefire way to get someone in to do like a fourth session. And it also allows me to take some hamstring work from the leg day and then also put it into the pull day as well. So I'm still technically getting 2 uppers and 2 lowers. I'm just condensing it a little bit more.
And again, same as 3 days, you're still hitting everything twice a week, which is the main point that we want to like keep hitting home on. I'm similar with guys. The only other split that I'd use for guys is full body, push pull legs. Love that as well. I think again, it hits everything. Push pull legs is just an enjoyable split. Like, I think going in and knowing that you're working those specific muscle groups is, for me anyway, like it's something that I've always liked doing. Rosie, you've got, I would say, most of your client females. Well, all of them are female. Most of them are 4 days per week. Half muscle building, half fat loss. Those that are building muscle, what's the sort of split that you've got them on?
Usually glutes and hams, upper, glutes and quads, and then another variation of upper. Or if they're like really quite focused on lower body development and I'm like trying to force them to do upper, I'll do glutes and hams, upper, glutes and quads, and then make sure they get a rest day and then a posterior day.
Yeah.
So that's just like back and glutes, kind of for the same reason Alex
I was going to say, like, that's the one thing you've got to watch about saying to someone, if you want to grow a muscle group, just do it more. It's like, well, there's only so many days in a week that you can do it again without having had a rest day on that muscle group beforehand. So there's always like an upper end of that. It's like you wouldn't have someone doing the same muscle group 5 days in a row unless they only did one set.
Let's chat about that. Let's look at sets, because I know some people listening to this might just build their own training plan, and you can and should do that. Let's look at, like, we're doing 4 days per week. You are trying to hit everything twice a week. What is the recommended sets for growth stimulus? What would you say, Alex?
I think I've always been like around about the 12 mark
per
10 muscle group, like roughly. Like, and I think I would increase that for someone who is a beginner / doesn't train as hard, and then decrease that for someone who trains very, very well and is a bit more versed in training.
That might sound like opposite advice. We're saying give more to the beginner and give less to the advanced person, but like, why is that your reasoning?
You're giving the beginner more surface area to hit quality reps.
Cool.
So if
they train less hard?
Because they don't train as hard.
Or less confident with the weights.
Yeah, and even if they do...
That's a better way to put it.
Yeah. Even if they do train... I'll just be like, you're rubbish.
Train harder.
Even if they are training hard, the quality of each rep's probably not going to be as good. So you're just giving them more chance to get good reps done. So for instance, I would do incline dumbbell bench press. I'd maybe do between 2 and 3 sets of that because I'm going to be able to train really heavy. Really, well, not that heavy, actually, if I'm being honest. But they would get really good quality reps. Rosie was doing me yesterday. And someone who's maybe not getting great reps and not able to lift that heavy, give them 45 and then just say, like, you've just got so much room there to get the volume that I'm going to get on my less sets.
Yeah, I think, like, again, going back to what the science says, and what the science says isn't always what we do to an extent. On the most part, it's what we try and follow, but human psychology plays a part as well, and what people enjoy plays a part. And I think that's actually where a lot of coaches go wrong. They're like, yeah, but data says do this with protein, and data says do this with sets, and data says do this with volume. It's like, yeah, but your client fucking hates it. It's like, find what they enjoy as well. So again, science says somewhere between 10 and 20 sets for each muscle group should be what you target. Now, that won't be doable if you're training 4 days a week. Like, hitting 20 sets of every muscle group is not doable. You'll be in the gym for like 8 hours. So that's when you need to start prioritizing, well, like, what are my focuses? And I think that should be something that you think about. What are the muscle groups that I want to focus on right now? And I've always liked just doing this in phases. And it might just be like the next 12 weeks, I'm really going to hit higher volume, higher sets on shoulders and calves, for example. And then it's like, right, I'm kind of happy with them. Like, I feel like they've grown a little bit. Maybe I'll now drop the volume to them. Because I've always found being able to maintain muscle is much easier than being able to build muscle. So it's sort of like go all out, building a bit in a place that you really want to build it, and then be like, do you know what? I'm actually quite happy with that. Like, I'm happy-ish with chest and back. So I'm like, cool, I can maybe lay off the volume there and maintain that. and then really build on the areas that I'm like struggling to build.
That's why I always say, like, I'm more talking about in the food context, but it works with this. Like, you can have balance once you're there, but getting there, there's not a lot of room for balance.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much saying that once you're there, you can chill out a little bit more, but you need to get there first.
And I think a lot of people look at us like as coaches, like we've got a ton of clients between us, and I think there's sometimes a bit of like, but how can you do that? Same with foods, like I spoke about, like the food that I eat. How can you do that? And it's almost like you need to deserve freedom.
Yeah.
You need to deserve and you need to earn freedom when it comes to food choices, calorie intake, training to an extent as well. Like I can relax a little bit more with my training because I went really hard at it for like a 6-7 year period. So like my level of training and work that I need to put in can be a little bit less in the short term because I've done the work in the past. And that's where clients go wrong because they see what coaches do or they see what really experienced people do and they're like, yeah, but you do that. It's like, well, one, maybe I've got better genetics. 2, I've been training since I was 19. 3, I tracked my macros for 3 years, bar Christmas, in a row. So it's like I've kind of like done those things, and that's where a lot of clients I think sometimes get like, how can you do that, Nicole? It's like, I kind of done the work like before.
Yeah.
But I also say, like, if you want to look a certain way, you don't have to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
You can chill out, but you're not going to.
Yeah, eat like a pig, do you want it?
Yeah, this
Do you
isn't
want?
by force.
Have more
Like,
balance.
you've chosen these goals.
Yeah.
You want these. Like, no one's forcing them
Yeah.
upon you, so do what it takes.
And then if you don't want to do it, you're not going to look a certain way.
Yeah. I do see, not to have a dig, but I do see certain coaches almost kind of looking to get clients by saying that. So they'll say like, I'm not going to push you in a diet. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to, ruin your body, etc., and put you through an aggressive fat loss phase. Come and work with me. Come and work with me. You don't need to know. It's all about balance.
And they've bodybuilded for 10 years.
I know.
And they look unreal.
I know for a fact that those coaches, to get to the shape that they're in right now, went through an aggressive muscle building phase, dieting phase, and really pushed themselves in the gym. It's like asking, some really successful businessman, like, oh, what's the secret to a successful business? And he's like, oh, like work-life balance.
Yeah.
Knock on doors.
And it's like, well, no, that's what you do now.
Yeah,
like,
what did you
I
do
want
then?
to know what you did when you were 19, 20, 21. That's what I'm better doing. Because if I sat back and tried to find work-life balance in the first few years of my business, I wouldn't have got anywhere.
That's always just coaches selling their narrative, and we do the exact same thing. Like, we've got a narrative that we want to sell. Like, my narrative is that I think you should do multiple higher and lower calorie phases. Why? Because it sells programs that I deliver. Like, 100%, that's why. But also because
it's right.
that's what I've done, and it's the right
That's
thing to
right.
do. But
You're
like,
not lying.
if you've got body composition goals, like, you do need to go through cycles of higher and lower calories, and most people don't achieve the body composition they want because they think that's boring. And maybe it is boring, but like boring works.
Yeah.
Like boring is better. So sometimes that is what you need to do. And I always see the exact same thing from a lot of coaches that are like demonizing higher or lower calorie phases, or demonizing tracking calories, or demonizing like, a specific style of training. It's like, yeah, but you done that. You just don't do it now because you've got and deserved and built more freedom by doing those things for fucking 10 years previous.
Or couldn't do it.
So don't get me started.
Yeah, it's like if I saw a guy that was in a fight camp for a boxing match, I wouldn't be like, he's doing too much.
Yeah.
Like, you need to do too much.
Yeah,
Like, everything else in his life goes out the window for 12 weeks in a fight camp to get ready for a boxing match.
Yeah.
There's no balance there because
Totally
he wants to be really good at what he does, and everyone just sits at the end and goes, "That was class, mate, well done." But it seems to be the minute that you do it just because you want to, because you've not got a boxing match, it's like, oh, you're not allowed to do that. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's
But
weird.
I used to be the person that said you could do, oh, you don't have to track calories. You don't have to do anything. Like, and of course you don't have to. Like, but if you want to look a certain way in a certain amount of time, you're going to have to. But like, and I think it's because I used to say that because I got into good shape by not doing that. Like, I flunked myself to the start, and like I got in decent shape. So like that, I was like this advocate of like, oh, you can do it just by kind of guessing your way through. It also took me 2 years. Like, when a lot of people come to me and say, oh, I don't want to do this, don't do this, and they've got 12 weeks, there's no room. Like, you have to. And
we're gonna chat about time in a second and how long it takes, because it's, especially when it comes to muscle building, it's not a 8-week phase. It's not a 3-week phase. It's like it's a long process. Yeah. And let's speak a little bit more about training before we move on. And the main thing that I want to speak about is training intensity. Like, your split, semi-important. The amount of sets that you do, pretty important. But Alex said at the start, he sees a lot of people do the wrong stuff, but they train really fucking hard and they actually get good results. And that largely comes down to training intensity. Rosie, you had a hard session yesterday, so we can chat a little bit about that. But how important is training intensity when it comes to building muscle?
Like Alex said, it can negate optimal. So if you're
Love that.
Oh yeah, I like that.
I like that.
Clip that up, guys.
it can negate optimal, because if you're, like Alex said, take two people. If someone's training like bro science, like fuck it, help, like balls to the wall,
Yeah.
but they're at a closer proximity to failure
Yeah.
more frequently, they're eating enough to recover, it's always going to beat these guys that are on like the, okay, today I go up in 2% increments.
Yeah.
Shout out Peter Johnson. 2% increments, because this is what my calculation says. Like you're always going to be better to just like
Push harder.
when me and Alex were training yesterday, first set, Alex was like, right, go for 12. I got to 12 and I was nowhere near failure. I definitely had more in the tank. So like I could have stopped at 12 because that's what we had planned to do.
So many people stop at 12.
Yeah, but on that last rep I wasn't fighting for it. Like on your last rep you need to be fighting for it. If someone was in front of you, like gun to head, or here's £1 million if you can do another,
that's
like
my exact quote.
more
I say that all the time.
more than 2 reps, then you could have done more and you should have done more with good form, of course.
And it's finding the balance. Like we're not slating bro science and the way that you know, intensity with no thought process, and we're not slating science. Actually, I think we sit very much in the middle of, like, as I said, like science is optimal, that's what we're looking for, but optimal isn't always realistic as well. So you're trying to find that balance between what the science says and like, can you just push a little bit harder? Because like science doesn't necessarily take into your mindset on that particular day, and the fact that you can just dig deeper and push. And this is, training intensity is the number one reason people do not achieve the physique of their dreams. Like it's the number one thing. Like, clap that. It really is. Like so many people go through life just training lackadaisical, for better words, but like they just go through the motions. And I think as soon as you get someone training hard, they see massive change. And it's the biggest drawback of online coaching. Like online coaching is very hard to get people to train right. Even with video feedback, even with doing Zoom calls, phone calls, whatever else, nothing beats sitting with someone or being in a session with someone and be like, you can do more, let's go. Yeah. And you'll all know that from training with other people. Like they push you that little bit more. And that's why I still love personal training. I don't do it, but like I love it for people, because I think a lot of people should start there, learn how to train, not just form, but like learn how to train hard, and then be like, right, you know how to train hard, like let's convert that to following a program. Yeah.
People don't realise that the ceiling is paper.
Yeah.
Like they'll get to that point where it's, oh, that's a little bit stingy, that's a little bit hard, but they don't, and that's where they stop. Whereas it's just pushing through that new one that...
Yeah, showing people that pain is kind of normal, because like pain in every other area of your life you avoid. If you get a bit of back pain, you avoid it. Like you run away from it. If you jam your finger at a door, you pull it away quick. But pain with training is something that you should move towards. On the most part, it's a certain type of pain.
Yeah, it's not sharp. It's just it grows, and you just stick with it. Yeah. The best way I've ever looked at a workout is to stop looking at it as a workout and just start looking at it as individual sets that I need to show up for every single time. Mm-hmm. So I need to, when I'm in the gym, I look at individual sets as always going, okay, well, you know, I might have had a bad set there, but once I move on to the next one, that's an opportunity for that to be good again. Yeah. And I think people start writing workouts off very, very quickly when they first get in the gym, and that ruins intensity, because you're like, well, that's my workout, humped in. Individual sets, you get to show up 20 times and do a good job there. And if you do that 80% of the time, you've had a good workout in my eyes.
That's actually such a good point that I've never really thought of, because I used to always back squat. Like back squat was always what I started every leg day with. And if you back squat regularly, you'll know that like some days it's just not there. Like some days you're just like, I feel weak as piss. And I was the same. Like if I had a weak as piss back squat day, I probably would write off my session rather than being like, right, my squats have been pish today. Yep. But do you know what? I can destroy myself in the leg extension. It's fixed, it's stable, it's secure. I can push on that. I probably didn't do that. And that's actually a much better... God, I've learned something today.
That came from golf for me. Just shot by shot.
Every hole's...
Have a crack, you know.
I'll leave the golf analogies.
Like, you've had a bad shot there, you've had a bad hole, move on, forget about it, never happened. Next one. Like, it's,
I think it's also important to say that like everything that we're talking about is for... building muscle and hypertrophy, because obviously I've just taken a wee dig there at Peter, but they're obviously training for, like, they work off percentages so that at the end they've got a big push for performance, whereas obviously we're talking about
build
building
muscle.
muscle. Yeah.
That's your apology, Peter, by the way, mate.
And I was saying, don't backtrack now.
I
Double
know.
down, come on.
Go back. Let's round things up in training, and I'll just go through each of us, just something that you want to help people understand about training, something that you feel people should know. I'll not put you in the spot. I'll try and think of something. Actually, I'll just round up what we've just said before we move on. Training volume matters. Like 3 or 4 days is probably what most people should be looking to do for building muscle. Your training split also does matter. But I think, like we said there, what matters more than anything is going to be the intensity at which you train at. You can do a really crappy training split and you can train 2 or 7 days a week. But if you're doing those with a decent level of intensity, like you will get somewhere. Maybe not 7 with a lot of intensity, but you will get somewhere. Alex, is there anything with regards to training that you're like, I think people need to know this, they need to understand this?
Please still eat good quality foods when you're in a gaining phase. It's very important. And this is coming from a guy who's not done that plenty of times. It never worked. I think I used to look for just an initial scale weight bump when I went into a gaining phase when I was younger. I mean, let's be honest, my entire life's been an attempted gaining phase. Still attempting it. But when I was younger, when I was at college, it would be going into McDonald's in the morning. They used to still do the bagels, actually, which they don't do anymore, which is a bit of a nightmare, but I just had a wee reminiscent moment there. But they used to do bagels. I would get 2 of them. There were 600 calories each. I'd eat 2, and this was on the way to college, so I'd had like 1,200 calories on the way to college. Still finished college skinny, because you're just filling your body full of rubbish. So I feel like my training suffered. I feel like by the time I got to lunchtime, didn't necessarily want anything because I'd eaten so much fat for my breakfast that had really slowed down my digestion and I wasn't ready for my next meal. My digestion was off, my energy's off. It's more about not looking at that initial bump in scale weight. If you're a skinnier person and thinking, right, I'm actually just going to fuel my body properly with good quality foods that are going to serve me in the gym when I'm trying to train, help my digestion and eat enough of them that over a long period of time, which again in phase should always be, it should be like twice the amount of time that you should be dieting for. Yeah. That'll serve you better. So you feel for training quality, food quality matters massively. So if you want to get the most out of your training, you don't just need X amount of calories, you need X amount of good quality calories. Yeah. Strangely, just once you get past like 20 years old, I used to be able to go and train after McDonald's, no problem at all. Yeah. And then I got to like just early 20s and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I just feel like
you've got more room for quality when you've got higher calories. I feel like it's when I'm in a diet phase that I'll maybe start to go into the sugar-free syrups that aren't great. Yeah. But when I've got room, I can add in
you
honey.
Can eat more whole foods, you can eat avocado and whatever else. Rosie, going back to training, just to round up, something about training that you think people need to understand when it comes to building muscle?
Probably that you've got more than you think you've got. So like, so like whatever you're finishing your reps on, like do it for me this week. Try an extra 5. If you don't get it, then what? Like what's going to happen? Nothing. Yeah. Like just
what?
Yeah, but like what? Like what's going to happen? You're just going to like the leg press is going to go down, or you like you know what I mean? You're not going to die. Yeah. Try an extra 5 reps. Try an extra 5, 10 kg.
Maybe the barbell bench press, maybe not.
Not on the bench press, not on your back squats, but on things that are safe to do. So try for an extra 5
That's
reps.
why I move the arms up in the back squats. I always say push it on the back squat because
go to failure on them.
Fuck that. And then just sit down.
No chance. I'm not gonna mentally do that.
I'd go for a 3-hour nap.
Obviously, we've got the arms there, but
within whatever's safe, like you will always have more than what you think you have, whether it's weight or reps or both. And there's really no harm in trying it if you're setting yourself up correctly.
Love it. Nicole, finish off with training, something that you think either your clients need to do better or they need to understand. Where would you go?
I think quite often in my check-ins, I'll tell people to ignore my rep ranges. So I'll see them stop at 15 when I know for a fact that they've done 10 reps at 15 kgs, 10 reps at 15 kgs, 10 reps at and I'm like, there's no failure there. Yeah. So like, I know that you've said you've stopped at 15 or 10 or whatever because I've said stop at 15 when I know that if you're managing 3 in a row, there was 17, there was 18, there was 19 reps there.
Love this.
So like go to failure, obviously in your own time, and then whatever you write down in your working sets should be based on that.
Love that. I think that's something for everyone to understand, whether you're following a program from us or any coach or anyone from the internet. Rep ranges are the goal. They're a range for you to try and stay in between, ideally. But if you can push past that rep range, you should be trying to. Like failure is more important than staying within the rep range. So if your goal's 15 and you hit 15 with ease, try and push 20, 25.
It's probably the number one thing that makes people actually stop a set. Is a rep range in the first place.
Maybe for the next programs we write, we just put 3 sets.
I often say
Very. Just go for that. Yeah.
Just 3 sets or
That's
something.
Yeah.
I often say the rep ranges aren't set in stone, but what is set in stone is the intensity
effort.
that I'm
Yeah.
asking
Yeah.
of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. Right, we've covered 3 key things so far. Calorie intake for muscle building, protein intake for muscle building, chatted a little bit about training. Training's one we could dive deep on all day. I want to move on and get to the last 2 points. The next one, and I think it's probably the least spoken about, and it's going to be rest and recovery. So Alex, kick us off. What do people need to understand when it comes to recovery for muscle building?
Your muscles are getting broken down in the gym and they need to come back bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
So if you're not giving them the opportunity to do that, whether it be training again too quickly, that muscle group specifically, getting enough food in, getting enough rest in, getting enough sleep in, if you're not doing the things you need to do to let those muscles go through that recovery process, then you are leaving gains on the table.
Well, and Rosie, let's go with your top 3 things that people need to be doing if they want to recover from the training that they've just done.
Sleeping.
Yeah.
Eating.
Yeah.
Relaxing, because sometimes stress can do it. And it's kind of exactly what Alex said. Like, the gym is technically catabolic. You're breaking yourself down in the gym. It's everything that you're topping yourself up with that's actually going to build the muscle. So if you're not sleeping, you're not eating, and you're stressed out your mind, that's not going to give you the right environment for progress.
Cool. Love that. That's the 3 biggest things. And if we're looking at sleep, Nicole, what was your go-to recommendation for hours, how to get better quality sleep, how to stay asleep for longer? Like, what does that look like for you and your clients?
Phone down. And multiple clients I have phone down by 10 p.m. Or 9:30, whatever their time is to go to bed.
Yeah.
Or I say at least a good half hour, 45 minutes before they go to bed, put their phone in the other side of the room or in the hallway, away from your bed, and go set your breakfast up, lay your clothes out. How
many people do you think actually do that?
Not many. Myself included.
Personally, I never do. I'm so bad for that. That's the last thing
But
I
I
look.
know
The
for a
last
fact
thing
when I
look-
do it, my sleep is
I'm so good.
so
for it.
much better.
I just
I
don't
did
go
it
on my
last
phone after
night.
like 6 p.m.
I
It's the
did it
last
last
thing
night, and I
I
went
do.
into PT like, right guys,
Yeah,
I've had an
literally.
extra hour of sleep.
Yeah.
Like, you're all getting because I was so
Yeah.
like, it literally was 45 minutes. I went to bed at 8:45 last night, but it was just like, see, from 8 till 8:45, I basically just, like you say, wind down, put my phone away. I'd been banging on about it all week. I was shattered all week, and I was like, just do what you say you're going to do. And I honestly woke up this morning, like, I didn't jump out of bed, but it's so noticeable when you do it.
Yeah. I think like reducing screen time is a superpower for fat loss, muscle building, making more money, being more successful. Like,
Everything.
spend less time on your phone, you will have a better quality of life. And how does that relate to muscle building? Like you just said, 1, your sleep's going to get better. 2, you're probably going to get stuff organised for your next day, which I think is massive. Gym clothes laid out, breakfast sorted. That's like those kind of things. So yeah, I think like spend less time on your phone.
Oh, last night, I did my check-ins this morning, and one of them I noticed that she'd filled it out at 2 a.m.
Oh.
And the first thing I did was phone down at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not going to take the piss and say, like, put your phone down at 9. If someone's not going to bed till midnight, like, they're not going to do that. But you can start kind of slow increments. Same with like waking up earlier. If you're going to start to want to be a 5 a.m.er, like, just take it back half an hour.
Yeah.
But with her, her check-in literally said sleep was at 5 out of 10, and that she felt groggy in the morning. And I was like, you're filling out your check-in at 2 a.m.
Yeah, and
like,
getting up at 7 or something.
yeah, yeah. And I was just like, well, you're like,
Obviously.
you're going to be hungrier.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
when your sleep's rubbish, which is then just going to affect everything else. It's the domino effects from it are mad.
Yeah, I've noticed, and Kirsty's the same. Obviously, we just had a kid, and I've noticed my recovery from training's worse. Like, I'm much sorer after what I don't deem to be that hard a session. And it's probably because I'm getting 2 hours less sleep. Kirsty's getting 5 hours less sleep.
Yeah.
So that's something to be mindful of as well. Like, if you've just had a big lifestyle change, whether it's a new job, whether you've had a baby, something's happened in your life, like, that will affect sleep. If that affects sleep, that's going to affect your ability to build muscle. So that's why there's also like an element of, is this the right time in your life to be building muscle or losing fat or chasing a specific goal? And I get a bit of a tangent here, but it's something to consider because it might not be the right time in your life to try and build muscle right now. You might have a lot going on. If you've just had a newborn, it's probably going to be harder to build muscle than it is to maybe maintain or maybe lose a little bit of body fat. Certainly a little bit easier. I forget to eat now and then, and I never thought I'd be one of those people. And it's because there's something else that occupies my mind, keeping Owen alive. So yeah, sleep is the biggest single contributing factor towards muscle growth. Next in line would be calorie intake, I would have said. Next in line for me would be protein intake. And then again, stress is a massive one as well. Like trying to keep your overall stress levels relatively low. Because people forget, like, being in the gym is creating a stressful environment for your body. You don't walk out like, oh my God, I'm stressed, but like your body's under a lot of stress. Like you've just broken down a lot of tissue. Your job is to go home, eat enough, sleep enough, drink enough water, get enough protein. That's when you rebuild the little micro tears that you've just created, and that's what leads to muscle growth. So let's talk about some of the things that people do for recovery that do or don't work. Like, let's talk ice baths, cold showers. Like, what's your thoughts, Alex, on that?
So you shouldn't go for an ice bath. I think the kind of general consensus now is like within like 4 hours of like doing any weight training.
Yeah.
It kills inflammation. Inflammation is what's meant to be happening at that point in time. So you're kind of going against yourself.
So you want inflammation?
You want inflammation. That's what's repairing the muscles essentially. So yeah, staying away from ice baths. Not saying that you can't have them at some point throughout your week, but if your main goal is muscle building, it ain't helping you. Put it that way.
And what about supplements? What are the supplements we should be taking for growth recovery? And what are things that you think are a complete waste of time? We'll go Rosie on this.
I'm quite a supplement hater.
Are you? Good. So you can go all in then.
I just
For creatine, surely.
I would, like I'll take
Sure.
the ones that I want to take, but I think a lot of the time people are looking for more and more and more to recover when you actually need to be like probably doing
things.
a little bit less.
Yeah.
So I would take creatine monohydrate, vitamin D in the winter. I'll take a sleep supplement. I take Dream Sleep, but it's a lot of like zinc, magnesium, ashwagandha. It's like a combination of both, or a lot. Omega-3s. They're, again, supplements are definitely person dependent, but also a lot of supplements on the market are not enough for you to get what you need.
What you need from them.
Yeah, like for example, I was taking iron supplements for so long, but I was still deficient in iron because I needed it from the doctors. So I would say like the general, for most people, multivitamin to cover all bases, creatine monohydrate, omega-3s, vitamin D if it's winter.
Yeah. Anything else that you would take?
I think my big hill right now is more creatine.
Yeah.
Like,
likewise.
I'm on 10,
15 grams.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's so much stuff come out recently. Like creatine used to just be like, it's going to help you build more muscle and it's going to help you be stronger. It's going to help you recover a bit. The brain benefits that have come out recently for like everyone in the population is massive. So
Rory McIlroy takes like 20 a day.
Is he?
Yeah, it's like 10 in the morning, 10 at night or something.
Yeah, it's funny because it's when you start breaking it down into simple terms, you're like, well, yeah, it would help your brain because what it does in muscles, aka provide energy,
hydration, water,
provide Hygenery,
Hydrenergy.
company name, provide like energy, hydration consistently over a long period of time while something's trying to work. It would make sense that it would help your brain as well. So you kind of break it down simply and you're like, yeah, why did no one ever really think of that?
Yeah,
obviously they did.
They're all naturally occurring in our body. As a client the other day that was really worried about like what's going to happen if I take all of these supplements. And I was like,
for sure.
Okay, creatine, you already have this.
Yeah.
Omega-3s, you have this in your food.
Yeah.
Vitamin D, we should have it from the sun, but we're not getting it right now. And it's just like stripping it back and like, it comes in a funny little tablet and a bright green packet or whatever. But like it's everything that you do already have. You're just giving yourself a little bit more of it. Or enough,
Because that's the thing you used to... Oh, on you go.
I was going to say, it's also, but going back to training intensity and stuff, it's redundant if you're not getting to the point where you need the creatine.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's why I mentioned supplements last, and they are low on the list. Like we're not big supplement pushers. Like none of us are like, you need to get these things. Like creatine is one that I'd say like most people should be taking. But like before you look into buying and spending money on things like that, it should be, is your sleep in a good place? And then it's like, well, are there supplements that could help your sleep get in a better place? Cool, there may be something to consider. Are you getting enough calories? Are you hitting enough protein? Are you reducing stress? And there's supplements that can help with all of those things. There's supplements for getting enough calories in. There's supplements for improving your sleep. There's supplements for reducing stress. But I would always gravitate towards trying to do them through more like natural approaches that don't cost any money before you then kind of dive into supplementation. The fifth and final point, and then we're going to do a little bit of a fun round, is going to be on time and patience, because I think it's something that no one speaks about when it comes to not just muscle building, but like any result in the gym. And it's like, how long does it take? And again, the answer is, of course, it depends. But as a kind of generality, Alex, if you've got someone on a muscle building phase, what would be the least amount of time that you'd have them on it, and what would be the longest that you'd want them just trying to build muscle?
Least amount of time to actually build any muscle, like any at all, would be 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Like minimum. But the reason I say that is because the least amount of time I would have someone on a dieting phase would be probably 6 weeks. And I've always said that you should be in a gaining phase for twice as long as you're in a dieting phase.
Yeah.
So very, very, very bare minimum, 12 weeks. I think most people could do with, and I'll just make a generalisation here, a six month to 8 month dieting phase.
Yeah. What's the longest you've spent in a surplus?
9 months.
Forever. I was just going to say 26 years before.
Yeah, no, so I'd love to say that but I know that there's been plenty of times where I've just not been, because I've not been tracking things. So I would say, like, working with a coach in a gaining phase, sticking to things properly, 9 months.
Yeah.
That's probably the longest time I was in, and that's when I saw the most progress ever.
And again, this is going back to like what's optimal versus what's realistic. I'm going to go at it from a client perspective, because most people that are new to build muscle will not commit to 9 months surplus or sometimes even 6 months. And again, we used to have a program that was 8 weeks, and it was a muscle building program, and we scrapped it because I was like, we're not, like, this isn't going to happen. Like, they can see progress. Like, you can build muscle in as little as 4 weeks, but build anything actionable that you see change from. You need much longer. And I think Alex is right. Somewhere from kind of 12 weeks plus is where I'd be trying to target. I would come at it from an angle of like, have you ever done it before? And if not, do a short one. Like, see how you respond, see how you look, see how you feel. I think it's different for males and females. I think it's different based on what your body composition's like. If you're super thin and you're like, I just want to build as much muscle as possible, you might want to commit to 2 years. Like, when I first started training, I was trying to be in a surplus for like 2-3 years. I'd maybe do a little bit of a diet for like Magaluf or Ibiza, but that was it. But I think for the majority of people, somewhere between that sort of 12 to 24 week mark, so 3 to 6 months, is a really good time frame for just trying to build a little bit of muscle. What's your thoughts?
I would agree. I would say maybe, like, again, depends what muscles you're trying to grow. Like, obviously they all grow at a similar rate, but for people who come to me, usually try to see glute growth, which, as we all know, like, can take a lot of time if you're not genetically blessed. So I would say, like, I wouldn't put any, if the goal was to build glutes, I wouldn't put anyone on anything less than like 16 weeks minimum.
Yeah, like it. And Dad?
I think when it comes to time as well, like, going back to what you said about stripping them back to bare, like, before I was in shape, I thought I had a good arse. And then obviously I lost my weight and there was no arse there to be seen. So then I had to then go back and build it. Whereas I think a lot of people just want to, maybe not in the best position. Like, a lot of the people joining the Growth Project will be wanting to grow bum for the girls.
And the guys.
But, and again, in order to kind of, how many weeks is
4 months.
4 months. So like enough time to see some glute development. But then that's why you kind of want to strip it back a little bit just to see. That's why it takes a little bit longer as well.
I think if you go off experience, I think like people with less experience should do something shorter initially, because they're not going to like gain in any sort of weight. So like, I think shorter is better, which is why, again, the Growth Project is 4 months. That for some people is pushing like how uncomfortable they'll feel with being on higher calories. So I think it's a really good time frame for somebody new. If any of us, we've all been training, like, I don't know, some of us 15 years, like, if I was to be in a higher calorie phase and actually be trying to build muscle, not a sort of like, I'm going to eat a little bit more. Honestly, it would need to be like 12 to 18 months for me to see anything like significant. And actually, there's an amazing Jeff Nappard video who's like a science-based YouTuber, and he has like what we thought has maxed out his natural potential building muscle, and he actually just filmed a YouTube video across a year time frame. But he's like, I'm going to do everything absolutely perfect for a year. Like, I've been training for 20 years, 25 years, whatever it is. I've done everything right already, but I'm going to give myself a year. I'm not going to skip a beat of get this perfect plan to follow. And he managed to add some muscle, but it was minuscule because he'd been training for so long. So, and again, that's because he's had so much training experience. If the average person, in fact, good point, he done it with his brother who was untrained, and his brother gained an obscene amount of muscle because he was new to training. So that's like a good point to consider. If you're on the newer side to training, I think honestly, like 12 to 24 weeks, so 3 to 6 months is good for building muscle. I think if you're kind of intermediate, 4 to 8 months, 4 to 9 months. And I think if you're maybe a little bit like us and you're still dead set on building more muscle, you probably need, 6 to 18 months to try and add a little bit on.
I think it's worth pointing out, like, his brother gained all that muscle, one, because he was new, and two, because he was on the perfect training program as well.
Yeah.
So if you are quite new to training and you're thinking that you can maybe achieve a lot of muscle growth without a really great training program like the Growth Project or something like that, you're not going to gain as much. You're not going to gain as much. You need to be doing the right things because you're a beginner, you're actually going to be at a disadvantage for gaining muscle because you're not doing the right stuff. So make sure you're getting some help.
Yeah.
Because I was pretty trained when I figured it out. I was pretty trained for when I figured out how to do it all right. I had already been training and tracking already, not quite doing it perfectly, but by the time I had figured it all out, I was trained and I had built muscle.
Yeah.
Whereas Nicole, for example, you kind of started from scratch, did it all right, and probably pretty similar results half the time.
Yeah.
But that's not a bad thing. That's just something to be mindful of.
Love it. So there's 5 key things we spoke about today, guys. You need adequate calories for muscle building, whether that's maintenance or a small surplus. You need adequate protein. It's largely going to be the same amount as you need for a fat loss phase. Training, you've got lots of considerations to make there, so I'm not going to recap on them. Rest and recovery should be high on your agenda. And the last thing that you need to be aware of is how long you need to spend in a slight surplus to build muscle. Now, we're going to take it back to school for the last kind of 5-10 minutes of this. I'm going to run through a few different pointers relating to muscle building. And I want you to keep in the muscle building frame of mind. And I want you to rank these A, B, C, D, E, or F. F is fail. A is...
I like to tears.
An A is an A.
F will take me back to school.
Yeah, F will take Alex back to school. We're just going to do a little bit of... I just want a quick little bit of what you think about this thing with regards to muscle building. I don't need it from each of you.
It's like A tier, F tier.
A tier, F tier,
Yeah.
Nicole, let's kick things off with creatine. Where would you rank that on the tier list?
A.
And why?
No, obviously you can get great results with taking a single gram of creatine.
Yeah.
But in terms, I think I'm so high on it because for me personally, A, I understand the natural science of muscle building. D, I don't know. But I'm really high on it because the fear around it. And again, all the girls that think that it's this magic thing that's going to get them all bulky.
Or guys that think it's going to make them bald.
Jack genuinely thought that. Crazy. But
let me tell him.
How much did you take back today?
I used to take a lot of creatine.
There's a reason I wear extensions as well. No, but I think it just because I love it, and I think I've seen so much genuine
progress,
even if it's placebo.
Yeah.
I know it's not, but even if it is, I tell myself
placebo
that
works.
Yeah, placebo works.
Exactly.
It really does, and it's the same thing. That's why I like to go to the gym full
Love
because
it.
I like to.
We're going A for creatine. Everyone in agreement?
No,
Anyone off?
How many?
I'm an A. Excellent.
Yeah.
Rosie, we're going to go cardio in relation to muscle growth. Where would you rank it?
It's very person dependent.
What kind of cardio?
Just cardio as a generality.
Oh,
Steps included in cardio?
No.
no.
Okay.
I would give it a C.
Yeah.
Because I think steady state cardio is very beneficial for certain individuals and for heart health. But it's definitely not it's not mandatory. Most people don't need it. But for those who do need it, it's very beneficial.
Yeah. Where you got it, Alex?
I've got it at D.
Okay.
For the simple reason that I don't like it. And again, I'm not finished.
We should
I'm
insert
not
the clip of you at High Rocks for sure.
From a muscle building perspective, I think the general kind of rule is that if you're burning double your body weight in pounds in calories at the one time, that's pretty catabolic to be doing that. However, it does allow me to increase someone's calories in a gaining phase while maintaining their body weight. So if I was to increase someone's, I'm like, their sessions aren't great. I want them to be able to push through these plateaus, but I also want their body weight to not shoot up.
Yeah.
I'll add in a little bit of steady state cardio, and then I'll say to the client, I'll be like, this is actually benefit to you because I'm able to put this in, and it's also going to help you maintain a decent level of fitness so that you can still continue to push your sessions really hard, your muscle building sessions. So I use it as an offset.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm going to go B. I think it's underutilized for building muscle in relation to your ability to do more work. I think a lot of people get tired when they're trying to build muscle and they maybe can't hit the volume that they want to do. And again, like Rosie said, having a really healthy heart will fucking
Yeah.
help build muscle. So I'm gonna go the other end. I'm gonna go B for that one. And again, there's no right and wrong. This is all personal opinion. Alex, we're gonna go back to you, and I'm gonna go on. Let's go just back squats. Back squats for building muscle. Give me your general consensus.
B.
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 Yeah.
Genuinely, yeah. I think they're harder than any other leg exercise, and that's why everyone avoids them in the first place.
Yeah.
I think done to
Rosie.
I think done to proper depth, ridiculous stretch on glutes, ridiculous stretch on quads, lots of axial loading as well, which a lot of people say is not great because it does you in a little bit more, but to me, like that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Where did you have it? B.
I had it B, yeah.
Rosie.
I would agree. Alex is not wrong. But just because I hate something doesn't make it
Yeah.
bad. Like it is,
Yeah.
like you say, it's good. I have spent years back squatting. I'm just not good at it, and I don't like them. But they're
You're not very good at high squats either.
no. But
Sorry.
arguably one of the best exercises and supportive of other movements.
Yeah. Love it. Rest days.
A.
A.
Yeah.
Agreement. Alex.
Sorry.
A.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Actually, this is a good
like,
one. Let's go.
Sorry.
Let's go stretching and mobility work. Anyone can chime in.
I'm torn with this one because I think it's really important, but I don't do it.
Don't do it.
So
I
I'm
don't
gonna
do
put it. I'm gonna put it at like a C because it makes me feel bad about myself putting it lower than that. So I don't do it.
I'm going to go E. I think most people think they need to stretch, and most people don't need to stretch. They need to strengthen. And I think that's what a lot of people get wrong. A lot of people want more flexibility, and they don't realise that actually getting more flexibility in general is actually just getting stronger across a bigger range of movement. And I think people put a lot of onus on, like, I need to be able to touch my toes and do this. It's like, actually, if you get really strong at RDLs, I can guarantee your flexibility will get much better as well. So in regards to building muscle, super low on my list. In regards to general health and, you know, whatever else, mobility in general, of course, higher. But for me, with regards to building muscle, I'm going to put it pretty low.
I would go E as well. Mobility, E, stretching probably F. I think.
Yeah, I was going to put stretching below that.
Yeah, I think mobility within the movements, within the movement patterns you're trying to do, super important. But stretching could be done without if you're doing everything else right.
Yeah, I don't think stretching is going to get you the mobility.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the mobility to, for instance, get your arm from here to below there, or to get down halfway into a squat, or get the leg press 3 inches off the lock, like that's a problem for me, muscle building wise. You're not going to get where you need to be.
I like it. We'll go with a few more. Nicole, let's rock with training to complete failure.
Complete failure.
Complete failure.
A.
A?
Yeah. Like I'm big on training to failure.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know that can't be achieved every single exercise, every single workout.
Yeah.
But for me, that almost rules overall.
Mm-hmm.
Like in terms of if we're not talking about your whole journey, I'm talking about purely from the science of building muscle.
Yeah.
That's number one tick.
I like it. What we got?
C.
C?
Yeah.
Good, let's hear it.
Just going off the fact that you can build muscle within an RP of 1 to 3.
Oh, cool.
And again, that depends on the volume. So if you're just doing 2 sets, go to complete failure. If you're doing 4 or 5, you can bring that back a little bit. I also feel like for the average human being, we've spoke about this before, training to complete failure, as in like utter failure every single session, that starts to affect my
That's
life.
not, yeah.
Yeah.
That affects my life. I'm being serious.
No, you can't
like,
do that.
I went home yesterday after our session and
cried.
again, like
cried.
that's what I have been doing recently. Like I've been really pushing myself to that level, and I feel like when I get home, like I'm just not worth anything.
You're a
like,
worthless piece of shit, actually.
I
I was the exact same. I had
Like,
to go
I had-
Asda on the way home. Like fuck, I need an apple.
Like, so I've got 5 check-ins that I do on a Thursday, and I kind of had to wait. Like I had to get home, I had to eat. Once I'd eaten, I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then I waited another hour, and then I did my check-ins, and it's all just because we took it to that place. Whereas if you're to take it to 2 reps shy, add on an extra set possibly, maybe you're in the gym a little bit longer, you come out and I think
I
you
think I
feel
am
okay.
speaking of though, like the clients that we do work with.
Yeah.
Because again, that is 0.5% of the people that are training to that point.
Yeah.
Like that is, if I tell clients to train to within 5 or 2 or 3,
Yeah.
they're not getting close.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like for me, training to failure, when I was a complete failure, looks so different on everybody. Like
Yeah.
that is like, and it's still different. Like I'm still pushing that ceiling of what I know is failure. So again, my clients now, if I'm telling them to push to failures, because I know that it's still not quite.
It's not complete failure.
It's not complete failure.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's like looking at like what's your max recoverable volume as well. Like what can you recover from when training? And I'm the same. That's why I don't train hard. But if I train to that level, because I remember the leg days that we used to do. In fact, I remember programming the first ever 12-week peak workout, and it was the most ridiculous session ever. It was squat, bench press, deadlift, pull-ups, supersetted with walking lunges, and then something else. Took me like 2.5 hours, and I was fucked after it. Keeping in mind I was a bit younger and healthier and fitter and stronger, but like I remember people complaining about it at the time, and I was like, "You're fine, like just get over it." And I was like, if I'd done that session now, even at like 50% intensity, I can die.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like training to complete failure is super important, providing that you can recover from it. And I think if you're an elite level bodybuilder, you're super experienced, your life revolves around trying to build muscle, you probably do want to be there. If you're on PEDs, probably do want to be there and you can be there. Outside of that, like complete failure all of the time, B for me. Like I think B because it's super important, but also keeping in mind that most people can't and won't do it.
Yeah.
But when they do that, it's going to be super important. Like I'm going to move on to another one. Let's go with mind-muscle connection, Alex.
There's not much data to support it, but I feel like it's not a case of the mind-muscle connection causing the extra growth. It's someone who has got a better mind-to-muscle connection is probably more experienced.
So where are you rating it?
So I'm going to rate it. I'm actually going to put it up at like B.
Nice, Rosie.
Yeah.
I'd probably go B as well because, like you say, I don't think it's the mind to muscle connection itself. But if you know the muscle,
The whistle.
the muscle you're working,
The whistle you're working
But-
what?
it's not the mind to muscle connection, but it's more so if you know which muscle you're working, you're focused on that stretch and squeeze of that muscle. You're going to be training more intentionally and more effectively.
Yeah. Actually, do you know what? Like, I don't think it's something that we speak about. I certainly don't with clients or hadn't done with clients. I think it's really important. I think it's probably an A or a B. Purely based on the fact that when I used to coach clients in person and they were doing like a straight arm lat pull down or a tricep push down, I was like, where are you feeling this? Like I had someone told me they were feeling a tricep push down in their calves once, and I was like, what? I was like, do you always feel it there? Like, yeah, like I'm really like, I don't know, like trying to cling myself to the floor, and I was like, what the fuck? It's like, it's a tricep exercise. It's quite literally in the name, and they were like, oh, okay. Anyway, I'd put it high because I think sometimes telling someone and educating someone and like, oh, you should feel this in your lats or you should feel this in your tricep. Immediately, they're like, ah, right, okay. So like, I actually think for clients, giving them an understanding of, and that's why it sounds stupid, but it's quite good when an exercise has the name of it in it. Like bicep curl, like, okay, I should feel this in my bicep rather than like hammer curl. It's like,
Where's
where am
my
I feeling
hammer?
this in my hammers? Some guys have a hammer to be fair. So I think it's relatively important being able to know what muscle group you're trying to work. And I think again, slight limitation from online, like you want to be able to start kind of see what people are doing.
Yeah. I've like very fond memories of asking a client where
I've
they
seen
felt
my hammer.
where they felt the forbidden hammer curl. I have like fond memories asking clients like, how you getting on there? Like lat pull down. They'd be like, oh yeah, man, try to really feel that. And I'm like, oh no.
I hated
I'm like,
that.
that doesn't make any sense.
Oh, I was like, how do I solve this problem?
I think what it is it's new people coming into a gym and they're just waking everything up.
Yeah.
So like they're just
100%.
waking up all these areas of their body. They're like, I don't really know what I'm meant to feel. All I feel right now is that my elbows are really pulling on the back of my arm because I haven't used that muscle in so long. So that I just always find that so funny.
We're going to finish off with two more. Let's go with the next one. Getting a pump. Go. In the gym.
I think I'm gonna go C or
Nice.
D, but mainly
C minus then.
yeah. But I love it.
Yeah.
Like I personally like it's that kind of thing. Look good, feel good, and
Yeah.
like for me, like if I look like I'm getting a pump in the gym, like if I feel my glutes are like working, then I'm training harder.
I agree. That's why I'm going to put it a little bit higher because of that. I'm going to put it B. And again, it's like science doesn't say like getting a pump is
I
going
was
to be
thinking science.
helping you build more muscle. But again, it's going back to like science versus like what feels good. And for
Yeah.
me, like if I train arms and I'm like, wow, my arms look good, then
I'm gonna
I
want to
feel
be
like
there
I get
longer
more out
as
of that
well.
session.
Yeah.
It might not
Yeah.
be true, but like I feel
Yeah.
like I get way more out of it.
I would give it I'd honestly give it an A or B. I
Nice.
think there's decent research behind getting a pump.
Yeah.
I'd maybe give it B because you wouldn't get a good pump if you're like not well fueled, but you could still have a good session. So
Yeah.
like say back end of a diet, you could still be flat as anything coming out of a session, but that's not so much
A bad session.
a bad session. It's more just that you're not fueled. But I do think there's a decent amount of research behind the pump. So I'd give
Research
it a B.
behind the pump.
I used to have a pump supplement.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Was
you
it,
could
was
take
it a
on.
pre?
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
got a pump pre as
Well,
well.
you could take L-citrulline on its own. That was really good for.
I used
really
to
good for a
eat
pump.
pomegranate seeds and dark chocolate.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
like
Aye.
ultimate
Mhm.
I like
vasodilator.
down loads of salt before I
Yeah,
go.
that too.
Yeah.
I think
yeah.
a pump also tells you, like so you say you've got a glute session, you're coming out with a glute pump, you've worked what you were trying to work.
Yeah, exactly that. It's a mind to muscle
intentional.
thing. I think.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good indicator of
Yeah.
have I worked quite hard that session generally.
Mhm.
I kind of find that because a lot of time I did train guys 1-to-1, I'd find that guys wouldn't even get a pump for the first 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Because
You
they
don't- you
just,
don't get a pump if-
couldn't quite feel it properly.
Well, one, if you've not got enough muscle, two, if you're not lean enough. Like if I'm super fat, like just doesn't happen that often. But if I've got a bit
Yeah.
of fat, I don't see that I've got a pump. So I think that's a relevant point. Let's round this off with one last rate. Let's go with being in a large calorie surplus. So like 500 plus on your maintenance calories. Where would you rate it?
B.
B?
Yeah.
For what reason?
Probably more personally than anything else.
Yeah.
I appreciate that for most people that doesn't compute, but I think that if I look at how hard I train on that many calories versus how hard I train on slightly less calories, I noticed the big difference in my training. And after training being the kind of main driver for muscle growth, I would always put a big surplus pretty high.
Okay.
Hence why I probably bring people down lean first so I can do that with them.
Mhm.
Like it. Rosie?
I would go A, personal as well. Like I'm
Yeah.
pushing 3,000 calories right now.
Mhm.
And if we are talking just building muscle, taking mindset away from it,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
the sole goal is to build muscle, you're not going to get upset at a little bit of fat.
Yeah.
You should be in a surplus. Like,
Like it.
yes, we're pulling it down to 200, but that's to keep your head in a good place and for a general population.
Like I'm going to go B minus for our clients, A for me, A for the same reason as you guys, B minus because I think most clients struggle to do it because they're
Yeah.
coming from a different sort of body composition from us. Go.
B as well, I think, because I'm the same. My last building phase, I was upwards of 3,000, and I probably didn't need to be. Like I wasn't like crazy lean or anything like that. But it's me. Like I like to be full.
Yeah.
I like to. It's the mental aspect of it as well. Of like, I tell myself that I have enough to lift whatever weight I'm trying to lift to get me to that point of failure, and that helps me build muscle.
Love it. Love it. Well, guys, that is us for today. We have rounded off this first podcast chatting all things muscle building. If there's other topics you'd like us to cover, if you'd like us to come back and do this again, drop them in the comments below. If you'd like us to never do this again and you would never like to hear from us, you can, of course, tell us that as well. Our growth project is starting on the 3rd of November right now. So if you're listening to this before then, please reach out. We can chat to you a little bit more about it. Hopefully this give you a little bit of a better insight into building muscle. And if you're listening to this after that period, then of course reach out. All of our coaches will be available to work with you at some point in the future as well. And that is all from us. So thanks, guys.
Feel free to rank us A to B.
I love that.